The nation's leader is recommitting his government to bringing order to public finances and decreasing growing debt.
In fact, Prime Minister Perry Christie says statistics now show that government is already moving in that direction, with the debt at the end of June coming in at $5.1 billion as forecast.
He's also optimistic that the debt level for 2016-2017 will be significantly lower as a result of his medium-term fiscal plan.
Carla Palmer has more.
Minister the Right Honourable Perry Christie says as a result of greater expenditure discipline and attention to revenue collection, he anticipates a continued reduction in the budget deficit.
The GFS deficit during the first half of this fiscal year amounted to $238 million, and that is down from the $295 million recorded in 2012-2013. Wow. We expect the deficit to come in on target at $447 million. Or 447 million, or 5.2% of GDP.
Prime Minister Christie describes the first 6 months of this fiscal year as relatively buoyant and largely on track.
Through December, revenues have amounted to some $669 million, Mr. Speaker, up by $36 million, or 5.7%. So, through the comparable period in 2012-2013. So, over that period, we're up by $36 million. On the basis of this performance, we now expect full fiscal year recurrent revenues on the order of, Mr. Speaker, $1.480 billion, 1,480 million. That will represent, Mr. Speaker, 17.2% of GDP, up from 16.7% in 2012-2013. As for recurrent expenditure, the data for the first 6 months of the 2013-2014 fiscal year reveal that it totaled $841 million, representing 48% of the full fiscal year estimate.
The Prime Minister expects recurrent expenditure to be held at $1.72 billion over the full 2013-2014 fiscal year, down slightly indicates from $1.73 billion forecasted. As for capital expenditure in the first 6 months of this fiscal year, figures amounted to $106 million, or 36% of the estimate, says Prime Minister Christie, for the entire fiscal period.
We expect a pickup in this category of expenditure in the second half of this year, with a total capital expenditure coming in or on target at $295 million for the full year. That will still represent a substantial reduction relative to the size of the economy, from a high of 4.9% in the 2011-2012 budget to 3.4% this fiscal year.
Prime Minister Christie says through ongoing and steadfast adherence to its fiscal targets, the government will succeed in eliminating the deficit and returning the level of government debt to more prudent and sustainable levels over time. I'm Carla Palmer for ZNS Network News.
Prime Minister Christie also explained the government's position on the impending implementation of value-added tax. As a centerpiece of the government's tax reform plan, Prime Minister Christie maintains that VAT as a sales tax was the most suitable option for the Bahamas to enhance revenue yields.
I'm advised that a VAT has merits over a simple sales tax because the built-in system of checks and balances makes a VAT less prone to fraud and evasion than a sales tax. As part of a broader reform package, I am advised that the VAT combined with lower import duties and excise taxes would also lead to fairer taxation, under which the segments of society that spend a large share of their incomes on services would now pay taxes on those services. Under our current system, based primarily on customs duties, those persons have had to pay less indirect taxes on the services that they buy, while those who buy goods, for the most part, have had to bear the brunt of the tax burden. I also want to stress that the government is fully committed to mitigating the impact of VAT on the most needy in society through the financial enhancement of its various social assistance programs. This is a practice that has been adopted in other countries that have introduced the VAT, and is one that we believe is most appropriate in the Bahamian context.